Good afternoon and welcome to a new edition of Let's Get Real. Today, we are going to continue our conversation from last week on who do you think you are for the Let's Get Real series. And I want to welcome our panelists for this week. And today we have with us a special guest, Alexis Lewis, Brianna Lewis, Junior Brown, and Andre, of course, Anderson, Stephen King, Michael Lindo, Pamela Lindo, Corinne Woodard, and myself, your host. So let's get right into this. We're going to start out with a prayer to honor God, and hopefully Toya will be popping in here shortly. Stephen, can you give us a prayer, please?
Yes, let's bow. Yes, Father, we thank you for the Sabbath. We thank you for today. We ask that you will be with this panel, be with those who are watching, that we all may come to a greater knowledge when this is all said and done. We ask that you will be with us as we go throughout this world with all the different things that are happening in the world. Protect us and guide us. These things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So we're going to get right into it.
Everyone. Thank you. So we're going to start off with right off the bat. So my introduction question is coming from a perspective of people, hurting people, hurt other people. And my first question is, why is it that hurt people hurt other people? Why do they do that from one human perspective to another? And that's the first question. And the second question is there a particular way that we can overcome being hurt rather than hurting someone, either from a Christian perspective or a non-Christian perspective? Anyone can take that.
You asked a very loaded question there. Why do hurt people hurt people? A lot of it comes down to fight or flight instincts, where you kind of are just sort of in a mode where you're angry, you're sad, and it's just another way for you to lash out, and sometimes to make you feel good about yourselves, even though you know at the end of it all you're just not going to feel good. And for some people, they were sort of born into a certain environment where they have that mentality of, oh, well, you hurt me, so in order for me to, have a better status or to prove myself, they have that mentality. I'm going to, oh, well, you hurt me, so in order for you to feel like you have a better status, or in your own mind to feel not less than everybody else, you will go and attack somebody else for sometimes even for the very same thing that somebody attacked you for, and it was for no good reason.
I agree. I think everyone has been hurt, and it definitely is a defense mechanism. I think when we're hurt, we lash out on other people to protect ourselves. But yeah, I think it definitely is a vicious cycle of hurt people hurting each other.
Okay, so we're talking about hurt people hurting. So let's get down to it. I mean, there have been times where even in your interpersonal relationships, we tend to hurt the people that we're closest to a lot of times when we're going through, storms or whatever. And a lot of times, I've heard people come and say, well, I don't go to church anymore because somebody hurt me. And I decided that I'm not going to let them hurt me anymore. Well, I say to them, you stop going to church because the devil sent an imp to church to cause you to stumble and not go to him. If anything, we should go harder for Christ. I mean, or harder for that relationship and a lot of times we have to forgive people in order to be able to move on, to forgive ourselves for whatever we may be going through. Because when that healing starts is when we can move to the next stage of our life to be able to do. And mind you, I may have hurt somebody and not even know it. And the Bible says for us to go to people, or people come to us and say, hey, you hurt me. And to be able to talk through that as adults, we should be able to do those things. Welcome, Toya.
I think, like you said, a lot of people don't actually realize that they're hurting other people. So, a lot of Christians in general, we have all these rules and standards and, things we live by, and we feel everybody should be also living by it and doing what we do. And so when we see somebody in our own self, we're scared ourselves. We see what we don't want other people to have. So it's almost like a mother's fear of you getting burned by the stove, so they spank you. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes Christians, we will be like, no, don't do that. Or you can't say it like that. And it hurts other people, but we don't realize it's hurting others. You know what I'm saying? And so then you hurting me is that last strike. And I'm already feeling alone because when you become a Christian, sometimes if you're not already in it, like most of us are born and raised in it. So we're used to that, like some random lady snatching you up at church, where if this is new to me, you may not touch me. No, you may not tell me my dress is too short. No, you may not, no, you may not. No, you may not. This is my first week here. No, you may not. And for most of us people, we need to know that's not our job to do that either. It's
right.
not your job.
But and I think people miss that because it's the way you do stuff too. My aunt always said that, and my mom. It's not what you say, but it's how you say it. I could walk up to you and say, I know that you're new to the church. Welcome. Just know, we tend to maybe do things a little differently. You'll come. But as you get convicted with the Holy Spirit and you start looking around and see that other people don't necessarily look like you, you may change the way you do stuff. But we got to do it in love.
Right. And so we're hurting.
I said it a couple shows back. I already said, depending on who you are, I'm not going to take what you have to say to me nicely. I'm not going to even take what you have to say at all. It's going to go in one ear and out the other, and you're going to be ignored. And the way people talk, it's very rude sometimes. And I feel like all Christians need to be aware of how they talk to people. Even if you've known them from a child and stuff, have some respect. Like people getting older and stuff. Like adults always say, child needs to respect them. But you should also have a little respect when you're talking to that child. Don't talk to that child crazy like they belong to you. And even if they do, you can still talk to them in a nice way. You don't have to be rude about it.
But don't people, wait, now, I hear this a lot too. Now, don't people say, well, it's because I'm from such and such place. Just because you're from such and such place don't mean you need to put some tact on that. Hey, what do you think? Okay, Toya. I can't hear you.
You on mute, love.
Okay. When you're saying we've given people too many passes to allow them to continue doing the things that they have done. And I think that is one of the issues. We give the people the pass of, that's just how they are. No, you get no more passes of that's just how you are. That's just the way they do things. No, because if we continue to allow people to do what they do and how they do it, they're going to continue doing it. And the cycle is never going to break. It's going to be a continual cycle of we allowing them to continue to do the things that we do not like. So, like I told y'all last week, there's no more passes. There's no more, oh, well, this is sister so and so or brother so and so. No, brother so and so, I don't appreciate when you do certain things or you say certain things. Sister so and so, I don't like that when I feel attacked. I have no problem with you speaking to me, but when you speak to me, I feel like I'm being attacked. And when I feel like I'm being attacked, everything you're saying is going in one ear and out the other. I'm not absorbing it because in the current moment I feel attacked.
Okay. Okay. Mike, can you read some? Oh, Mike is gone.
Okay, I'll read because Mike is
Thanks.
gone. We had two that had
You're next,
Felicia
Steve.
Taylor. Felicia Taylor said, relationship comes first. Jesus brought love before correction. And then Alexandria and Anderson, she said, Nathaniel asks if anything good can come from Nazarene. And since Jesus came from Nazarene background and environment, doesn't excuse behavior.
Okay. Stephen had his hand up.
Yeah, I was muted. I tuned in last week, and I thought that you guys made some very good points last week. Um, First, I think we're looking at church hurt. This stuff happens in the church. One of the things, the reason why we come to church or we go to church or we're in church is that we're coming to church searching for something better than the world has to offer.
What is going on with everybody?
You can hear me? Okay. You're coming to church to look for something better than the world has to offer. Well, if you look at this, you look at the situation, everything you have in the church, in the world, you have in the church. And so I hear some of the comments, I've heard some of the things that were said, I heard the hurt. First, we cannot excuse the hurt. If a person is hurting, that's real. That's a real situation. The hurt is real, and we have to address it. A lot of times we don't have training, proper training for people holding positions in the church, and it's not discussed a lot in the church about how people talk to one another, how you treat someone, how you treat a guest, a visitor. A lot of times those things are not addressed. So we have people that are getting hurt by others in the church. What do? I think the first thing you start out with is forgiveness. You have to humble yourself and be willing to forgive those. I think my brother David said something to me once about my dad. He said, Steve, how do you know that he knows how to do this better than what he's doing it? And I said, I looked at that, and this was coming from my younger brother, and I said, you know what? He's got a point. Suppose that's all he's been exposed to, and he's given us his best. What do you do with that? So the Bible does say we have ways to go to and address people who have hurt us. And I think that if we come with a humbling spirit and go to that person, because we're looking for what? Resolution. And it sounded like when I heard people speak last week that we're not getting resolution. We're not resolving the issues and the problems that we're running upon. And so I'm gonna cut and let somebody else go, and I'll come back in later.
I want to say something, and I want to say, Coach King, that's true, that we are in a church that we are supposed to be healing, but sometimes the people in the church don't allow us to heal. And because of that, people wouldn't let us know that they're having depression because they're scared of everybody talking about them. Instead of us helping, we'll be gossiping about them. So they're scared to speak up. So
Well, look at our young people. A lot of our young people are leaving because they feel as if they don't have a place. And we have to do a better job of making sure that they know that they have a place and that we want them there. But how do we start with that healing? How do we start letting that young lady know who had a child out of wedlock? It's okay. You made a mistake. Now that start the healing process. I know our church had a what was it? A big community baby shower to let the young ladies know we love you and we embrace you. We want you to come back and be healed. So we've got to start the conversation somewhere. But even in our interpersonal relationships with our significant others, our siblings, are we don't always get along, but we find a way to, I don't know, sometimes I guess we don't. Let me say that. I know of relationships. Go ahead, Toya. I know the relationships where that gets a little rocky as well. Toya.
It's funny that we're discussing this because literally I'm going through that right now. I get to the point, like I said, no passes. And this has been built up, allowing people to constantly hurt, hurt, hurt. And it's gotten to the point now where I don't care. Like, literally, I don't care. And people don't understand. They'll push you to that point, and sometimes there is no fixing it. Sometimes my healing is internal, where I have to heal myself internally. But once I heal myself internally, that means that I can't go back and allow you to do the same things that you were doing before. And you might not like me, because when I get to the point to where I don't care, literally, hi, and I'm gonna keep it moving. And you're gonna think I'm acting different, but it's not the fact that I'm acting different. It's the fact that I've allowed you to hurt me for so long that I'm no longer gonna allow you to continue to do that. And I think that is where, like you stated, we started out with a community baby shower. But with that community baby shower, we should have actually had classes where picking a pediatrician. Being a first-time mom, picking a pediatrician, that's hard. You would love to hear recommendations from other people. Hey, I use this one. What happens when a baby gets colic? What happens when a baby gets a diaper rash? Being a first-time mom, you really don't know that type of stuff. And granted, you have friends and family members but sometimes you being in a setting with people your age and everybody's learning at the same time, it hit different than somebody constantly telling you. Because, when everybody first had a baby, yo, mama, don't take that baby outside. Put that baby on some socks. Put a hat on his head. It's 200 degrees and I got a hat on this baby head. I take the hat off. My baby head plastered to his polar head because it's so hot. Things like that.
Okay, so so you're saying we need to do the classes. So we start there. So who is going to approach the church members or the people who said, are you going to start holding a class? Are you going to volunteer? Or is that something that we need to bring to like church business meeting? Talk to the pastor and say, hey, we need to start these things. We've got to start somewhere. And how are we going to bring those people that have left and we see every now and again to heal them?
And see, here's my thing. I know when it comes to church hurt, it's a little different. So you need to have someone that's transparent. We have to get to the point to where we have to start saying, oh, well, this is sister so and so. Sister so and so might not have that loving, caring persona to deal with our young people. We actually have to start with someone that's transparent, someone that we know that loves the young people. And you anything that falls under that church umbrella, you're going to have to take the board meeting. You're going to have to take. You can't just go out and be like, oh, well, I'm going to have a meeting. You can't do that as long as it falls under that church umbrella.
Can I say something? Toya, your story.
I'm sorry. I saw your hand, Pam, and I know I saw Stephen's hand. And Junior, did you have Andre? I don't know the order, but
I wanted to say, I brought my brother on because he has a story just like LaToya, similar. And I really wanted him to kind of say his point as the male part of LaToya, if he doesn't mind, without not getting too personal.
Well, I'm gonna let Andre. I'm gonna let Andre speak, and I understand why you brought me on, but that my story doesn't speak. It does speak to the question, but we're still answering a general question, and the general question is why do hurt people hurt? I'm gonna let Brother Andre speak, and then I'll speak after that because you guys are making a lot of good points, but I think the raw point hasn't been addressed yet. So go ahead, Andre.
Well, what I wanted to talk about was solutions to certain issues, kind of a specific issue about actually what this comment was going to talk about. I wanted to talk about how these things like, having children out of wedlock, we tend to look at the women more because they have 9 months of public shame, or basically, whereas the dudes, you don't immediately see that. And it's just kind of how humans operate, or we kind of see it and it's like, oh, she definitely isn't married. I don't see a man with her, or I don't see a ring on her finger. And yet we have a baby. So what happens is she then gets shunned. You potentially lose not only a good woman in the church, but a child who could have potentially been in the church. And she has no idea how to take care of a child. She, like, the community that she might have been raised in has now ostracized her, basically kicked her out of existence. She doesn't exist anymore. And she's just sort of in limbo. And now she's angry at the church. And then you have a man who has basically brought a child into the world and taken no responsibility whatsoever. What do we do there? I think we indeed need to do, we need to do workshops. First, either first-time mothers, first-time parents, or first-time fathers to be raising kids. I see someone wants to comment. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know who's going next, Junior or Steven, but someone jump in here.
Junior
I'd
said
like
he
to see
wanted to
Brianna
speak
say something
after.
because she was saying thank you. She was really co-signing what Andre was saying, and so I wanted to hear what she was going to say on that.
No, really, I was thinking about young people and like how not even just that, what you were saying, Andre, but different sexual orientations are gender dysphoria. So that's something that we haven't talked about either. So what do you guys think about that and forgiveness? I know a couple of people who had that and they actually left the church because of it, because people were so rude to them. And so what do you guys think about that?
Well,
Here's the thing. Oh, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
Here's the thing. You get cut, right? You get cut. What lets somebody know that you got cut? There's a scar. There's a scar. Either it bleeds. Last week I bumped my head in church, which I was supposed to get my staples pulled out today. And the only reason why somebody knew I got cut is because I was bleeding, right? I was bleeding right in the middle of the church. But that's the only way that you saw, right? So the problem is that the reason why women, and I saw what Ricky J. Mark said in his comment, that men go unaffected and women do, and it's only because women, the scar is the child. That's the only difference. There is no scar for that pastor, for that elder, for that deacon that's doing his dirt. There's no scar unless someone comes up years later on a Me Too movement. That's the only way you know something happened. Or if somebody says that's the father of the child. But because there's no scar to show that he's done dirt, that's why he goes unaffected. But the woman has this scar. You can't hide it. It's right there. The cut's right there. It's in your face. There's nothing you can do about it. And so until we understand how to deal with true healing process, and I understand, Andre, you said workshops, but I think the greatest thing that we really need is, like, when I call my phone company, I have a problem. After a minute, I say, take me over to the de-escalation department. Period. We need a de-escalation department in the church, which, like Toya says, people who are fair and transparent across the board. I'm not Sister Clark's best friend. And so then I say, Sister Toya, well, Sister Clark is like that. You have to understand she went through really hard. So it was okay for her to hurt me last Saturday because she went through 10 years of pain. But I went through 12 and mine don't count. No, 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 no. So we need somebody to see it transparent all the way across. And it needs to be de-escalation. And then we also have to look at, why are we here in church? We forget that. I think some of us act like the minute we walk in the door, like everything we go through drops at the door because I'm in church. Everything should be better, and it's a building. It's a building. It's the same building like any building you walk into, and you're gonna walk in with the same problems you had yesterday and you're hoping that you can bring those problems to the throne of grace, and that there's somebody there to say, it's gonna be okay, brother. It's gonna be okay, sister. So the main reason why we hurt each other is because we continually forget that we are once hurt. And my last point on why hurt people hurt, it's like, think of it like this. If I get in trouble by mom and dad, I kind of want my sister and my brother to get in trouble too. I want you to hurt like I hurt. So if I got whooped, I'm hoping you get whooped too. And some of us carry that attitude on. We do. We want to see other people hurt. We've been hurt. And so we say, no one hurts like me. And then when we want to see other people hurt, so we hurt people unintentionally sometimes, but we hurt people because we have been hurt. And some people deny that, but that's the truth.
Okay. Stephen, I know you had a comment.
So, guys, can you hear me, Sonia? Okay, I can. First, we got to start with love. Junior, Andre, and Toya, that's one of the key. We don't always have the right people in place. Churches don't always get it right. That's just a fact. We don't always have people who work in positions that are there for the right reason or the right person in the right position. So that's something that we're going to live with for the rest of our lives. So if we look at love first, if we start with love, and it got to start with us. I like to throw out a question. You ever thought about this? Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe God is working on you. Not that your hurt is not real, but he could have caused you to cross paths with someone that hurt you. Now, if you got true love in your heart, see, it's not that the hurt, you're not going to feel the hurt, but what you're going to do with it. Where is your Christianity? Look in the mirror and say, you know what? This person really hurt me. Because, see, I can tell you some stories. You think y'all got some stories? I've been in Delray pretty much all my life. I've been in my church almost all my life. And I've had some situations that cut me deep. But, see, I also had parents that I could go to. I always had brothers or people I could go to, friends, and I could throw it on them. And boy, I'm talking about when I throw it on them, man, why is this like, I'm heated. But by me casting it out first to someone else, I calm down. And then I realized maybe they're ill prepared. Maybe they shouldn't be at the door. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they didn't tell you they got pregnant too. But they went to Georgia or they went somewhere else to have the baby and came back and left the baby up there for auntie to raise. See, there are a lot of things that you don't understand that may have happened. But you were a woman enough to walk in church with that child that you had. And you were unwed. I was man enough. It happened to me. But I was man enough to own up, go to my own church, and say, hey, you need to take me off the church board. And I had a father who was man enough to say, yeah, he need to be off. But it was not hurtful because I owned up to what my mistake, what I did wrong first, before the church even got to me. Before anybody could say anything to me, I owned up. I owned my own mistake. So then I put my eyes on who? On Jesus. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you got a lot of hurt going on, but I'm just only throwing it out there. Maybe you got a little bit too hurt going on and you looking through the eyes of hurt and this thing hurts you even more. What about your responsibility to first be humble yourself, and then go to the person who hurt you and have a real good conversation. I thought I'd just throw that out there. I'm off.
Okay, I don't think that I should have to come to you and say, "Hey, I sinned." That I don't think that you keep saying the owning up to it. The owning up to it is, granted, I'm going to own up to this for the next 18 years of my life because I got to raise this child and beyond. Because at 18, you don't stop being a mother. So I don't think I should have to come to you and be like, "Hey, the other day I was drinking and I got really, really drunk." I don't think I should have to own up to that. Everybody has sins. Nobody's coming to the front of the church and being like, "Hey, I was down there touching little Bobby the other day," or "Hey, it's true."
Yes.
My thing is, the only reason why we are so adamant about the sins of pregnancy is because they are public. They're shown. That's the only reason why. And owning up to that, I don't have to own up to it because guess what? You see it. But if that was the case and we have to own up to our sins, we line everybody up because no sin is different than the other one. And I don't think that we should treat people on levels of sin. This is a tier 1 sin. This is a tier 2 sin. And then, pregnancy, that's that tier 3 because it's public. When you have your mugshot in the booking blotter, tier 3 sin because it's public. But we're so quick to judge them instead of us going to them and saying, "Hey, is something going on? Is everything all right? You might not want to talk to me, but I just wanted to reach out to you to say, hey, you know what? I might have never had a mugshot, but I can't say I've never drank. I might not get pregnant, but I can't say I never had sex." And that's the issues we have where we're always trying to have people come forward and point out their own sins and justify us being nosy. That's just plain nosy. That sin is between them and God. And we are so quick on, you have to let us know. No, you don't. We are not Catholics where we go to a confession. When Jesus died and that veil ripped between the holy and the most holy place, that means I don't have to come to you to go to God for God to forgive me of my sins. I have that. And what I need to do is I'm coming to church. I'm coming to the altar because guess what? That's where I feel that I can get as close to God as I could possibly get so that maybe some healing can go on down there in the altar. But first I got to get past all of the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the front of the church to get to the altar.
Okay, but okay. So we're saying that the healing has to begin, but also, and somebody needs to be on mute because I'm getting a lot of background noise. But also, we have to also take responsibility for the things that we do, because when we commit an act, even though God forgives us, He doesn't necessarily take away our punishment, or not even saying, depending on what it is not necessarily a punishment, but we have consequences to the choices that we make. And in making those, because I've always said to my kids, you make choices in this life, just like David. David made choices. If we go on Facebook and you putting all your business out, or Instagram, and you putting all your business out, you're looking for somebody to have an answer or to make a comment that you may not appreciate. So I don't understand, especially this generation. They could be sitting in the room with you and they'd rather be on their phone and text you an answer. Listen, I'm right here. Answer me. But there are consequences for putting your business out there. So if you go on Facebook and go on a rant, I decided I'm going to do whatever, then be prepared for whatever you get, right?
We have some comments that we need to read, if you don't mind, Sonia.
No, please read them.
Okay. So the first one was by Sheila Bright. Hello, panel. Sister Latoya, you spoke the truth last week. And in that truth now, panel ambassadors, thank you for your presentation. Ricky J. Mark, loving young people is one thing, being able to talk to and connect with them on a level that makes them comfortable is another. Michael Lindo. Are the female population looked upon more harshly than males in the church community? And then Ricky again, Ricky J. Mark. Absolutely. Men have the privilege of running around and relatively unaffected. Whereas if a woman makes one mistake that could change her life forever with a pregnancy slash child, the privilege is real. And then Alexandria Anderson, Galatians 6:1, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restored, such as one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. And then Miss Sheila Bright again, people want excuse to dump on people. They're not going to mess with these cliques. They're mess with folks who don't have anyone or allies. I don't want to come back to DOZ for same mess. Mike Lindo, yes, I agree. Those cliques are one of the most destructive group in the church. And then Maria Cole, taking personal responsibility for your wrong is not the same as making a public confession. And then Sheila Bright, if anyone returns with an attitude of love to the DOZ, they want and treat each other like they want to be treated. There won't be a problem. This is too easy. So we get what we get. That's it. That's all our questions so far.
Okay, well, let me say this. We're not talking about one particular church. So I want to make sure that we understand that there are multiple churches. We're talking about Christianity. And so we're not focusing on one particular place because we have multiple churches on the panel. So please be general and not poke at one place, please. And I just want to say, when you put your business, like I said before, when you put your business out there, be prepared to get whatever you get. Because if you let everybody know I'm going to the store, my husband and I had a fight, my boyfriend said something to me to hurt my feelings, you're putting it out there for anybody to have a comment. If you don't want everybody to comment on your life, then you need to keep your business to yourself. Real talk.
Go ahead,
I'm
Alexis.
sorry, Alexis had her hand up. Go ahead.
So I feel like yes, don't be putting your internet on your business on the internet because that's our business now. You know what I'm saying? And but people do judge women more. It's actually crazy. I have to be a virgin before I get married. I gotta hold it down. I gotta be inside. I gotta be in church. I gotta be holier than thou. Can't drink, can't smoke, can't do nothing. But this man, oh, he get to run the streets. Oh, he get to whip it out any stop he wants. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere to anybody, anytime. But if I had 50 men, I'm a hoe. You know what I'm saying? But if a man has 50 women, he the man.
Wait, don't put yourself. Don't do 50. Say 10. Say 10.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm just saying it shouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't matter. That's not the point. If I had, because you can have one man and get pregnant, and then it's a wrap. But this man who got you pregnant got 72 women before you. And he again you say you went to church and told him that you got somebody pregnant, you coach, you know what I'm saying? You did that because you felt like you were doing the honorable thing as a man at your time or whatever. But you could have kept going, nobody known.
Right.
And even if they did know, say you got stepped down for a month, maybe a year, maybe. But a woman, until the child go to college, you can't do nothing on the praise team. You can't do children's story. You can't do none of that. Because you ashamed. You ashamed.
So what is how do we start changing it to make our young people and our older people, because there's some older people who out there doing their thing.
Dipping and doing it, honey,
And
as
just
Wendy would say.
because we don't see your sin does not mean, because sometimes stuff is happening and people love to say, oh, you know what? That person's having that issue because they got some unforeseen sin. No, sometimes it's just that syndrome of Lot. God is testing us and he's taking us through and he's refining us. And we have to be about God's business. And we have to be of a more loving spirit to bring back. So I would like to know, how do you all think to bring love back in and to go and find maybe that person over there that used to come to church, or you wrong? How do you bring them back?
I think it's really hard, especially when it comes to youth, because right now we have like this attitude of like, if it doesn't serve me, I don't want it. Like, you know what I mean? So like if somebody comes to me and they're like talking all this mess about me, I'm not gonna talk to them. I don't care who they are. Like who are, like, you know what I mean? Like our generation is definitely not for that. And so I think it's gonna be really hard to bring the youth back into church. It is gonna be extremely hard. I think one way we can do it is maybe through service, or like you know how you guys have games, or like something like when we show them love, like, hey, we're just all together hanging out, we're normal. Like this is not, we're not like the people you think we are. You have to come in like that. I feel like, sometimes it's not like sitting in church and having that actual service. It's about fellowshipping outside of church, or like anything else. Like, we're young people are not here for that. We are definitely not.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed Pam's hand and Toy's hand and then Steve.
I want to say, I think what happens here is, and everybody had a good point, but I think the thing we needed to realize is when we, as an older generation, because I fall in that generation because I'm older now, we need to learn how to love again. We need to show the young people we've made those mistakes and try not to act like we've never made those mistakes. And I think once we start to own up to that, because I think in my generation, we try to make sure that we didn't do what our parents did us to our children. So we try to be more been there, done that. Don't make the mistakes that we've done. We try to talk more, show love. And I think that we need, as a church, even for us older ones, we're scared to speak because we're so scared of judging others or being judged. I'm one of the attitude that I really don't care how you take it. You take me how I am, but I want to help our young people because they need that love. And I hope that when I work with the youngs, I try to give them that love that their parents may not show, or they're saying, oh, well, I can't do that. But why do you think your parents say that? And sometimes when you talk to them, they're more honest. And then once they realize that you're listening to them and not talk at them, they look at you differently.
Okay, Toya.
I forgot what I was gonna say. But piggybacking off what Miss Pam said, like I tell people quick, yeah, I had fallen so far, and sometimes you have to hit that rock bottom before you can actually realize, okay, I've been sitting here in the bottom too long. It's time to get up, dust off, and get myself together. And I think our young people don't realize that it does not matter how far you've fallen, how long you've fallen. It just matters that the fact that you can get up and be like, Lord, here I am, and you have to take me as I am. And I think I guess I'm in the older generation too, huh? I guess. I get. I'm in between because I'm still hip. Okay.
Okay.
So we have to come to the realization that we have to let our youth know, I don't care what you did while you were out there struggling, because if you tell me some of the things that you did while you were out there, I'm going to shake my head and be like, you know what? I struggle with that a little bit too. You know, it might have not gotten to the extent that you struggle, but guess what? You're not the only one out there struggling with this issue. And I think, like Ms. Pam said, we have to get to the point to where we're not so judgmental. Like, I don't tell people things because I'm like, how's this person going to look at me, or how are they going to judge me? Now, at the age I am now, I don't care. Like, and eventually you're going to get to that point to where you can say something or someone see you doing something and you're going to look at them and be like, and keep it moving. Like, Corinne, I'll toot my lips and keep it moving. But I think that's a bridge that we have to gap with I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to look down on you. I'm not going to continue to throw dirt on you, because if the world throwing dirt on you and you come over here, I'm throwing dirt on you. How long can you sustain this dirt that's being thrown on you before you just whittle up and die?
Yeah.
I think we. So the church is in the business. The church, moderator, is in the birch. I didn't say no specific church. I said
That's
the church.
right. You said church.
The
We're
church,
good.
the
We're
saints
good.
of the living God. I ain't getting in trouble.
That's
Okay,
right.
I want to be able to come back. I don't want to be banned from the DOZ station. Okay, the church. The church is in the business. Welcome back, bro. The church is in the business of casting out, not in the business of fishing. We say we are, but we're not. Because we can find 5 reasons why you should leave, but struggle to find one reason why you should come. And so, as I said in we call it the after party when you guys get off this panel, we spoke about. I said in Testimonies volume 7, page 107 she says, when you are done censoring and you cast them out, who are you casting them out to? So the question is, who are you casting them out to? And then when you figure out who you casting them out to, then you might think about, maybe we need to get back Sister Toya. Okay, something happened. It's okay. But we're here to say to you, it's okay. And you're going to get through it. See, we talk about stories, but we don't live about it. Pam, Mom always says this saying, religion is around us, not within us. We talk about the prodigal son, but do we really understand the prodigal son? The prodigal son said, there's something better than what I'm doing here. There's something better than what I'm doing here. Find me an Adventist kid that doesn't think that there's something better than what they're doing in church. Find me a Baptist kid that doesn't feel there's something better than church. Find me a kid that in their own family that's not even in the church that says there's something better than what I'm here. And when they go find it and they realize that maybe home was better, what does that parent, when we're talking about Bible stories, what did that father say? He seen him from afar and said, go get the best for my son because my son has come back home. We talk about that story, but we don't live that story. If Toya, Brianna, all you ladies have had a situation, I should be at the top of that hill saying, Toya's coming back. Let's bring him on back. Do you guys know? And she sits here quietly, don't know, but it took my mom 30 years. Do you understand a prayer of 30 years for that woman up in the top right corner, my older sister, Pam, to come back to the church? 30 years, 30 plus years on her knees, begging and pleading and crying to God to bring her back because she was in that same space. Like, this is what it is. And so we need to be in the business, like Coach King says, the business of love. But love how? Because we find 5 reasons to say why we don't love you, but struggle to find 2 reasons why we really love you and what we're really about. So if we're really talking about the prodigal son, then let's live it. Let's bring back that sister that had a baby. Last point, we have a pastor out here in Paw Church, the Caucasian church, and he was new to church. He was an atheist. He was an atheist that became an Adventist pastor. So his way of looking at things is totally different. But I never forget this story he told us. He says, when one of the youth had a baby inside the church, the elders of his church says, Pastor, you don't need to go talk to her. We got it. We're going to go talk to her. We're going to let her know what classes that she can go to, what places that she can go for help, how we will support her here, and that we still love her, and that we will work her through this process
Mhm.
as she understands how to come back into church. If we find, like Andre said, workshops or outsource programs like that to bring our youth back after the, because like Toya said, there ain't no tears on the sin. Sin is sin. Once we find that way on how to bring you back and become true fishers of men and women, then this shame that women have lived for years, men live it too, and I'll talk about that in a second, men live it too, will eventually start to decrease in our church.
Okay, I know Stephen had something to say, and after
Yes,
somebody else is saying.
let's get real here. I see a lot of young people really shaking their heads to all of this stuff, and I said these are real issues. I guess because I work in middle school, high school, in my church with the youth, and you know what? I never had a problem reaching the youth, and because like he said, Junior said, if you got real love in your heart, they'll see it. Young people can see right through you. If you got real love in your heart, I've never had a problem reaching out to the young people. And I'm probably one of the older persons here on this panel. And I never had a problem. So it's not age. It can't be age because I'm working with high school students now. Right now, when I had my birthday the other day, so many young people reached out to me. When I was in school, so many young people reach out to me. Am I a magnet or something? No, it's how I present myself. When you see older students from high school I was at before say, man, Coach King was real. You know what they're saying? I treated them like how I wanted to be treated. So like I said, you put the right people in the right position, young people won't go nowhere. Because really, you think about it, young people, we have failed you because they didn't fail us when I was coming to church. We thought the church was better. I think Junior said something like that. We actually had a whole lot of fun in the church because we had a whole lot of things to do. People took the time. They spent time with us. That's one of the keys. They spent time with us. And we, through the time, we developed relationships. Yep. So we had respect. A lot of young people don't have no respect. Your attitudes sometimes stink. And that comes, you come with it. I don't know where you got it from, because I'll tell a lot of people in high school right now, if I was your mama or your daddy, you wouldn't survive. Because you wouldn't talk to me like that. There's no way. I'm old school. I believe that you should have a certain amount of respect, just like you should respect the young people. Just because they're young don't mean that you should respect them. Yep. They should respect you. But to get respect, you got to give respect. RESPECT. Oh, oops, I forgot. But anyway, you know, my point is that see, young people knew what that was. That's the movie came out. They know what then came out. You can't play with me, young people. I saw you talking, oh, how he know that? Well, you got to go meet them halfway. You got to go where they are. You got to know what they're talking about, where they're at. Young people are on social media. But I'm almost about to say, I see more parents on social media now than I see young people. They be on their phones just as much. But it's where you're spending your time. How much time are you spending with your young people? How much time are you showing them love? How much time are you willing to put them in your car and take them home, even if the mom can't get there because she's working 2 jobs? See, I've done it. And I have kids all over the United States right now because I was willing to show love to the kids. It wasn't about me. I had my time and I had a good time. I just came back home to show them how you can do it, and you can do it right there within the church. Stop being so angry with the church. There's some people who are ill prepared. You know what ill means? They just don't know, or they don't want to know. Well, with love, you can turn any situation around. And I'm going to tell you that, Toya, because you know I love you. I deal with you. I don't care nothing about your attitude. You can't get to me about your little attitude. When I first met you, I was like, who is this chick? But you know what? I found out you had a good heart. Don't let nobody kill your heart, Toya. You are a good person on the inside because I got to know you. But if I had judged you just from the outside, Toya, and you hadn't hung around my cousin Sonia, that would have had nothing to do with you. You were too much. But Toya, you are a good person. And that's why you're so easily hurt, because you have a good heart. When you have a good heart, it's easy for people to hurt you. It's easy.
Oh, I ain't hurt. I don't care.
No, that's what I'm saying. You pass hurt, but you really, you know why I know that you can be saved? Because there's somebody who died on a cross for me, you, and everybody else, and he showed us the greatest love. So Toya, we ain't done with you yet, because you can forgive, and that forgiveness will bring healing to you, and you'll be able to handle some of these people. I'm going to say this real quick, real short.
Okay, but wait. No, you can't go
Okay,
that easy.
I'm
Now,
done.
wait a minute. You just said we have to forgive. How do we start that conversation?
We have to go get our young people. We have to tell them, look, I'm sorry for what somebody else did to you or I did to you. And we got to start there. We got to start with communication. We got to have a conversation. There's a pink elephant in the room and nobody don't want to talk about it. Like you said, like the brother said, everybody talk about the prodigal child, but how many willing to forgive and bring them back? How many of us willing to pick up a phone and call a young person? How many young people are willing to pick up a phone and call an older person?
But
See, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Everybody's got a responsibility, our young people, but we must start that conversation, and we got to be for real about it.
But I think the biggest thing that you said is it starts with relationships. That's what it starts with, relationships.
But not just that. I think we need. I not even think we need to acknowledge that people have been hurt. Just because you feel like you said something that wasn't hurtful, that doesn't mean it didn't hurt.
Yes,
you have to acknowledge that. You got to acknowledge that people are hurt. Just because they're younger than you doesn't mean that it didn't hurt them. Just because, oh, I'm the older person, you shouldn't have taken it that way because it hurt.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as we acknowledge that pain first, both ways, older, younger, however, it will start to make a difference on the healing track.
Yes. But doesn't that come with respecting everybody?
Yeah. Yes. Sonia, I want to say this 20 seconds. Something happened to me in a
everybody forgot about my hand, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, something happened to me in my church. Too. Something happened to me in a church setting that has lasted for 20 years. Okay. They still looking at me the same way. They think I'm that little boy that was running around. I ain't that same boy. But you know what? I had to, if I wanted healing, if I wanted to continue to work for God, I had to let that go.
Yes.
Because some of them ain't gonna never say I'm sorry.
Nope.
But I had to let it go. And guess what? God has blessed me beyond measures. Beyond, when I say beyond measures, when you do what God is, all us got to work to do in the church, the young and the old. But when you do what God asks you to do, He blesses you in measures that you can't even believe. And they still hating on you, but God just blessing you right on along. So you take your blessing and you keep moving on. Guess who's going to deal with them?
God. A lot of those haters, God, the devil has put them to be stumbling blocks.
To be stumbling blocks.
And
but
we got to pray on them, right?
But Sonia, what he said, God says, don't worry about them. I'm piling some clothes up for them on top of their head. And you wonder why something's happening to them. And you go like, ooh. You hate to say, I knew that. No. Let God take care of it. God's got a way of seeing everything. And He justifies everything in time. Stay tuned. Watch God do His thing.
Yes. Alexis?
I would say, okay. I think our problem is one, everybody in Rome's not Roman, as my friend like to say. Everybody in church is not Christian. Period. No more, no less, blah, blah, blah. Then on top of that, we have generations of just different mindsets. We know some generations is, I'm the adult, you have to listen to me, I don't care if I hurt your feelings, I don't care what happens, like, because in their mind, that's the right way to do it, because they're trying to help us in their heads. They're trying to help us, but it's really causing barriers to actually come up and leading us astray. Because again, oh, you have to listen to me because I'm the 92-year-old grandmother. And then we're not even going to be able to get that wisdom out of them because we're going to cause barriers. Then they're going to, let's be honest, they're going to die off because it's the older generation. and everybody's going to, was that too much? I don't know. And then we're all just going to miss out on that older generation's wisdom that can help us all so much, because older generations, they've been there, they've done that, and they've seen it. And that's also the issue. They've been there, they've done that, they've seen it. They don't want us to do it. But we're going to do it because we're a generation of, I'm going to have to try and fail myself. And if I don't, oh well.
But isn't that part of the problem, Alexis? The fact that I have always been one that I wanted to hear the stories from the older people. I
Right.
wanted to sit at their feet and learn from them. Isn't part of the problem that this generation is all about me, I, and they don't want to hear?
Yes, but
Well,
I'm sorry, I feel like you have nicer older people who are around you to go and listen to you.
yeah.
These old people at the church today
I
are
really.
mad.
They have said the meanest things to me. They
Come
told me
on,
about my
yes.
outfits. Somebody called me
Out of
Jezebel.
control.
Oh,
Your
You gained a
mama's
little
really
weight.
trying to throw hands.
You
You're
gained a
like-
little weight. Oh, you done got fat. Well, gee.
Now I get that too.
You know
I
what?
get that too. Now.
You have
It's
people
proof.
snatch phones out your hands.
Taking
Like,
phones out of my hands. I'm like, wait,
Jesus.
this is my
hold
phone.
on, mama.
But that's not even it. That's not even it. How about when someone judged you? And I'm older than majority of y'all. So someone has judged me when I was young and told me, "Oh, before you 16, you'll be pregnant." Think about that
This is
one.
why.
And
People say that. People said that.
And they
am
said
here to
that, and I
say,
have to
I've had
live with
someone,
that.
I was
That's
12
correct.
years old, and I had an older person who I kind of looked up to. Walk up to me and say, before you turn 16, you're going to have a baby and you'll be dragging slippers and doing nothing with your life. That's
And
what
if
an
you had
older
told him
person
your
spoken
mama,
to.
you
But
would
guess
have
what?
That to me.
I made the determination that with God, all
Correct.
things are possible. And I was not going to live up to what that person said.
But
And
do
it
they do
hurt
the same thing to men? That's the question that I think we were talking about before. Like, do they go up to men and be like, "Oh, you're gonna be this person"? Like, we don't even have a person.
They do.
But
They do.
men are at a different
They do.
standard.
They
It's
do.
like the more they do dirt, it's okay that they're a man. But when you're a woman, don't mess around and make a mistake. Let me tell you, I have someone that I know very well. She made a mistake. The first time she made her mistake, she got pregnant. Not number 2, not number 10. The first time, and oh my goodness, the judgment that came down on her, and she had to live with it. And she said she was so ashamed because it was, she said, everybody, people that she thought had her back, turned their back on her. And we have to realize that just because our sins, now like I thought, all sins are the same, right? But because you can see that person's sin, all of a sudden you better. We're not better, but we still have to face the reality of I made a mistake. Now I've got to live with it. But as Christians, we're not supposed to go and smush it in their face.
How about half of these older people in these churches have amnesia? Because most of y'all got speak for yourself.
Correct.
You just went away for the summer and had your mistake and came back like nothing happened.
Yes.
Or it was never brought to the light. But see, here's God.
Or you left Auntie to raise your
like Steve said. But guess what? When judgment comes, all things, not some, all things will be
But
made.
it comes with everything, because I was told with my son that I was going to raise him to be a statistic. And this is people basing my parenting skills off the fact I was 25 when I had my son, but I was 25. I had a degree. I had a master's degree. I was working. I had my own car, but based off of my attitude, yeah, I was a little rough around the edges. I admit, yeah.
But guess what? That's all right. God is the person who can rub out any edge, correct?
And right.
Hey, but Alexis, jump in. You had something to say, or was it Brianna?
I think Mike had something to say for a long bit.
Oh, Mike. I saw a hand over here.
Real quick, I think Coach King said something earlier this evening that I think was around where could we find people in a church that could kind of be, I guess, honestly judgmental. And that's a hard process, but I think first of all we have to be humble and get to a maturity level that we're able not to be judgmental as an individual basis. And once you take that on and follow Christ's plan, if you follow, keep your eyes on Christ, everything should work out accordingly. The next thing is that, once you follow, the best way to get somebody on these church boards, I don't know if there's a plan already in process, but if you can get like a vetting process to have a special committee of who's going to act accordingly, maturely, you can have a vetting process, put the right people on the board. Not because I'm an elder that I'm on a church board, not because I'm a deacon on a church board. You have to have other people. And I know it's hard because you have so many people doing the same jobs over and over, they burn out. But if you present it in a particular way, that can work out. And then you won't have all these judgmental people that when somebody do a sin, you're talking about going old school, premium on the church board, say, you out of here. So it starts with the individual first, then it starts in probably small groups then.
Yeah. Well, how can that happen, Mike, when the clique runs the church?
But see, that's why you got to find, that's why you have to have special people to find out how to go about doing that. That's why you have the vetting process.
Mr. Mike, the only way you could do that is if you dismantle the whole board and you start over. That would be literally like, there's people that have held positions in any church. My cousin goes to Kojic Church, and when I tell you, they talk about how their process is where there's people on the board that's been there for 20, 30 years. They've served their purpose. Like maybe they were effective 20, 30 years ago, but guess what? They're still on the board because of the fact that they've been there so long. And I think it's not just our church. It happens in every single church where there's people, they're grandfathered in. That's what it's called. They literally are grandfathered in. Every time there's a new pastor, their grandfather, sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so, they did such and such and such, and they're grandfathered in. And every time we get a new head, it's, they were here and they've been, and that's exactly.
Wait now. Hold on. Now I see hands over here, but I gotta say this. Now I'm on the board, but I'm gonna be real honest about this. When we've given certain people opportunities to make changes, they've done nothing.
Get rid of them and keep moving.
And I'm not saying that. We're willing to give other people, like I tell young people all the time, please step up and take my place. If you are willing to take over the ambassadors and you are about work, but see, it's not about being seen, it's about actually working. Because it's easy to talk the talk, but it's hard to walk the walk. Because you have to actually put in the work. And people know when you are putting out decent product versus, I just threw it together. Yes. Okay? So come on, young person. Who are you? Come and find Sister Woodard. Sister Woodard will be right there to walk you through. Come on, Lexis, and then Steve. Come on. Oh, go ahead.
Well, jump on in there. You make the comment about jumping in there and trying to start. But what if there is no Sister Woodard at whoever's church?
Then you gotta go.
Because we've seen it for ourselves that some of these young people get put in these positions and they're trying, but they're bullied right out of them. Or we just gonna put this person over here to help you, and that person happens to just take over instead of just lending that hand or trying to lead them instead of taking over.
Then find that person that is willing to mentor you, that you feel comfortable with, and tell them what your issue is.
What are they scared of?
I feel like that is a lot.
Can I just say, can we have those
politics at that point?
Can we just have the people who feel that they don't have to die with the position on their heart? You have the older people that they feel like they have to die with that position. I mean, when do we give up those positions that the younger people can come in? Because we need to teach them, but you have those older people who feel, oh no, I'm not letting it go. I'm gonna die being the usher board or the whatever it is. Correct. How do you get rid of those people?
Yeah, but
I think you
wait a minute. Alexis has had a hand up for a minute.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Alexis, throw it in there. Junior, you next. Go ahead, Alexis.
Okay. So, like y'all said, I'm sorry.
Let Junior.
Go ahead, Lex.
With being on the board, right? When you're on the board, then you have to do every job. And then you were, like she said, bullied into having the opinions of the older generation. Then you're beat down by all the work you have to do because it's only 5 people on the board and we have to do everything. So that's just that board part. And then my other part was we have to get off this pedestal as Christians because this pedestal that we put ourselves on is hurting others. It's causing, and that's why people be like, oh, she thinks she's holier than thou. We all probably heard it once or twice. Oh, she thinks she's Mother Mary because this and that. She thinks she's this and that and the third. And okay, because I went to Oakwood and I'm a 7-day Adventist. No, I don't know why I'm doing quotations because I am a 7-day Adventist. I'm a 7-day Adventist and I was at the Walmart.
We ain't gonna do that. We're a Christian and we were at the Walmart. Let's go.
I'm a Christian at the Walmart. And he found out what university I went to, Oakwood, which is we're not going to give a denomination to this church. And he said, oh, we can't play with them because they're 7-day Adventists. You get what I'm saying? I was like, I'm a whole fool and I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fool too. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow, we have this quote unquote reputation as Christians to be hard on others and ourselves. So how can I expect anything else, which then creates this barrier again with myself and others? And then you're saying hurt people, bring it back to the topic. I'm, again, like Brianna said, I'm protecting myself from the hurt that you are going to cause me because we're acting like we are not all sinners because we all are. Like you said, one sin on top of the other. No, because you can't get to heaven with a white lie. You can't get there with none of that stuff that you hold on to. Not one lie, not if it's homosexuality, not if it's a lie, not if it's stealing, not if it's killing. Do you want to see Hitler in heaven?
Oh, well, but who are we to judge? Wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. At the end of the day, we cannot do anything to get ourselves there, right?
We sure can.
We are bought with a price, and with that price, God makes a determination because you don't know what has happened. We're gonna be shocked when we get to heaven to see who's there.
That's what I'm saying. But is that what we're relaying to others? No, we're relaying that, especially as Christians, we rely this thing of works. And it's not that we need works, but it's what we show people in a sense that we have to do works. We have to
don't the wheat and the tare grow together? Wait, the wheat and the tare grow together, correct? Because that's what the Bible says. And also remember when that gentleman was out there hiring people, he gave the same pay whether you came in early or whether you came in late.
But we know that. But people outside, that's not my point. Is not saying we know this. We as in this community, because we wouldn't be here talking with each other if we didn't, one accord, blah, blah, blah. So we know this, but the people out there, that man at Walmart who told me like, oh, can't do that. They're Christians. Like, he don't know that. He thinks that I'm stuck up and, you can't talk to me, you can't play with me, you can't laugh with me, you can't joke with me because I'm going to be like, oh, but the Lord said.
Because we get so holy. Is that what you're saying? Because we get so holy that we're of no earthly good.
Right. Because the Lord said, do not play with the others. Do not do that.
Junior, I'm going to let you jump in before me.
You gonna let me jump in before you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Coach. Here's the deal. I think we have to understand how people worked when the church was being formed and to where we're at now. There were a lot of people in positions back then because due to slavery, due to all that stuff. So when you got a position in the church and you were nobody at your job, sometimes that's even how it is now. You hold that position to its highest esteem and you don't want to let go. Why? Because maybe at your job you're just a cashier, but when you come to church, you had deaconess, you had elder, okay? But at your job, you know what? You working in the back making sandwiches. You ain't nobody, okay? But when you come to church, you head of this, you head of that, you head of this, and we hang on to these positions because guess what? I'm somebody here. The problem is that while you're worrying about being somebody here, the question is, are you fulfilling the role that you've been placed in to do? No longer are the days we are grabbing a young person. We're asking, hey, we'd like you young people to come. But we ain't grabbing them no more like we used to. I remember the head deacon, may he rest in peace, who used to grab me, hey, you can clean with me to church on Sundays. So now it's nothing for me if they say we got church week. It's nothing. My brother and Pam, they know I'll be at church all the time. It's nothing for me because I was under that umbrella. But like my sister Sonia said, sometimes we place these young people in positions and we don't support them. You're going to be a new AY leader. Okay. But we don't come to AY. We told them that they should take that position. We told them we got them, but we don't show up. Or they say, hey, I was thinking outside the box. I was thinking that maybe we should go here for AY. And we're like, whoa, we can't do that. Can't do that. Whoa. And so we begin to tear this young person down. And so they go, well, dang, if I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, then what can I do? And so they say, well, I don't want to do anything. Last point is this. Some of us have to learn how to separate our personal work from church work, especially those in administrative roles. And I'm telling you this why. So my mentor, if he ever watches this, he'll know who I'm talking about, always says to me, when he came to start to do more leadership in the church, he had to learn to separate what he would do in the corporate world to the spiritual world. Because in the corporate world, he would be like, I'd have fired you without even thinking about it. I just fired you. I wouldn't want to hear about your problems. I don't care. You're not producing. I would have just fired you. But in the spiritual world, we have to do it in a different realm, right? We have to say, okay, how can we help you fulfill this role? Well, I make that point to say the same way we are sometimes nasty in our own world, we sometimes carry that same attitude into our churches. And this is not just the Seventh-day Adventist church. I'm talking about any churches. We carry that same behavior from out there to in here. That sometimes people would say, if I walked in the room, would I be able to tell the difference between this denomination and that denomination and this denomination? Not really. You know why? Because people are people. The question is, and like Coach says, and I'm handing this over to him, what type of person are you? Isn't that what the title of this whole thing is? What type of person? Who are you really? Am I a person that, yes, made some bad choices? Yes. But does that define who I am and who I am to become as long as I'm the child of the King? And let me say this final point. Women, I know you get judged. I know you do. Trust me, okay? I do. But us men get judged too. Literally. And I'll say this as the greatest example. I cannot bring a female to the church as my friend. I cannot bring a female to the church as my friend that just wants to know about my church. I can't. Why? Because as soon as she come in, and I'm just speaking from past experience, oh, your girl is using the bathroom. Your wife is me. After I just told you, I brought one friend to church and I said, this is my friend. She's at another church. She's thinking about switching to our church. She just wanted to see. And we went and did another activity. And the next words out their mouth was, your wife is holding your tickets. It was like a movie for a Pathfinder night at the end. And she goes, your wife is holding your tickets. So either if I bring several several friends, let's say I work in a workplace and there's mainly females, and I bring them to my work and to bring them to church, I am now known as a womanizer. I'm not a witnesser. I'm not an evangelist. I'm a womanizer. Now you women may say, hey, well, in your circle, you know, as a player. Yeah, okay, I get that. But when I'm at church, I ain't a player. I'm a womanizer. I'm this. I must protect my daughters of Zion, daughters of this, daughters of that from this guy, because every time he hugs, I'm sure he's trying to holler at one of them. We go through those pressures, and it shouldn't exist neither for men or for women, but it does exist. And I think we have that misconception. Go ahead, Coach. Sorry.
Yeah, Brianna, go ahead. I'm going to relate to you also. Go ahead.
I hear what you're saying.
I was waiting for you to say something. I was waiting for you to say something.
I hear what you're saying here. You know, if I bring a man to church, I get the same thing. Like, it's the same
Yes, you
thing.
do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So that's the worst that it gets for you.
Hey, and he's the man. He's the man, right?
He's a man. He's a womanizer. Okay, not me. Okay.
They're celebrated. But if we do it, we get that other word that your sister
The other word.
said.
I can't bring a man to church either. They'll be like, is that your husband? It's the same thing.
Well,
And
Or
don't
like,
have
who is
time to
that?
bring another man.
That's not your friend. It's the same thing. So I don't know.
I think that was the point, though, as in
Yes,
it is
that's
the
what-
same thing. Yeah. You bring anybody to the church, they're like, oh, who's that?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying
Are we
is
looking
that
for
is
some
the
more
word.
members here?
Yeah, but Andre, you're missing
So let
what
me-
she's
You're
saying.
missing the
Yeah,
What she's saying,
you're not
Yeah,
catching it.
but what she's saying is, if she brought multiple men, she becomes that woman of the night.
Right.
Who's your mama?
Wait
Oh,
a
yeah, I
minute.
get that. What are you saying?
Wait a minute.
And it shouldn't be like that. It
I mean-
shouldn't be like that either way. It shouldn't be like
Yes,
that. Period.
that's the point I want to make. That it doesn't matter whether they call a woman a whore or they call us a gigolo. Because see, when I had hair, I was good looking. If I brought a couple of women to church, you know, they used to say the same thing about us, Mom Junior. So I feel your pain, and it was just friends. You know, I probably wouldn't even have taken them out nowhere. It's just with friends who came to church with me. I want them to share my church experience with them. So you're right. We do get our own stories. We ain't gonna start because the men get it too, but we probably are not put up front as much because there is a double standard. But you know what? I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna touch on what I had to touch on. With all this women live stuff going around, we starting to get double jeopardy now. So come on now, women. Hello, y'all got the houses now. I told some woman that other day, if a man had a house and had a good job, he bring you in, he bring you as his wife. He don't ask you to sign no papers. But with the women, they got good jobs and nice houses now. They want you to sign prenup, all this other stuff. Come on now, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
The man will leave.
Don't try it. I went there the other day, and you know what? They had nothing to say. Now let me go on to my point.
A man will leave you even though you brought him the house.
But see,
A lady
y'all,
will pretend
you
to
see,
say
you
you
wanted
cheated
your
on
rights
her
so
all day,
bad,
that's a
but when
different
you
story.
got your rights, y'all did that double jeopardy too. Come on now. But anyway, we need each other. The young people and the old people, we need each other.
We do.
Don't look. I told you I just hit a birthday, and I'm 60 years old. I ain't scared to tell you how old I am. But you know what? I can deal with a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, 16-year-old. I got a lot of knowledge I can share to them. And the reason why older people, I heard somebody say this earlier, try to tell you, hey, look, ain't nothing new under the sun. They may call it something else. When I was coming up, they call it a roach. Now y'all call it a blunt. It's still the same thing. It's nothing new under the sun because Jesus said he covered everything. And if they talking about you, the Bible says, Jesus said it clearly. If they ain't talking about you, you need to be worried because you ain't doing nothing. But if they talking about you, that means you got it going on.
Yes, sir.
So stop worrying about what everybody's saying about you. Go do what you're supposed to do.
That's
Find
right.
out what you're supposed to be doing for God and go do it. So if they ain't talking about you, you got problems. So if they talking about
Right.
you, you
Right.
got wealth. You got it going on. Last thing I'm going to say, when I said we are the head, not the tail, but there was one more thing I had. I wrote it down. I know, but that's all right. I still got, I'm in school now. I'm still making a maze, so I still got that brain.
All right.
I just want to say to the young people on the panel and the old as well, we got to learn to work together. We got to come together. There's no split. Older people can give you some knowledge that, man, look at here, they've been down that road. Younger people, you got the energy. You got the new technology. I went to school, man, I was lost. All this technology you got to do to go to hand in a paper now, it's ridiculous. But because of COVID, you know what the teacher said the other day? You have to learn this new system, because if we go out, all your classwork is going to be online now again, even though I'm in person now. So the world has changed, has moved to technology. Now, you think the antediluvians who were smarter than us didn't have some kind of form of new stuff that we probably can't even figure out today. So don't think because you're young, you're so smart because you came up with a computer, and most old people don't have time. They don't want to relearn that stuff. But there's some of us who know just as much as you. So we know your technology. I have all the apps on my phone because I deal with young people. I have TikTok. No. I have Instagram. I have all that on my phone. You know why? Because I want to know what the young people are doing. So when I see that young man that I love so much and I got so much love for with a cigar in his mouth, I ain't judgmental. But what I tell him is, boy, I saw you with that cigar in your mouth. Coach, no, coach, that was just a picture. I say, I ain't judging you. But I did say stay away from it because I want you to live a long time because you got to bury me, son. Or I want you to live a long time because I want to come to your house and lay out like you came to my house and lay out when you was a little boy. It's all in how you deal with each other. Me and him laughed about the cigar. But he knows that we as older people, we got to teach. Young people, y'all don't know everything. I told them to stay away from drugs and cigarettes and alcohol. I told them that. I didn't care what they thought about me. I told them to pull their pants up. I told them to do this and do that because I had a relationship. Some of them didn't like it at first, whatever. But now, 10 years later, because I've been doing this for a while now, those same young men who used to frown up at me, Coach, we love you. You were more than just a coach to us. You cared about us. Man, how you let us come in your house and eat all your hot dogs out of your refrigerator? I said, because I knew you were hungry and somebody taught me that you got to be there for the young people. You got to be there for them. So
but
young
Coach,
people, hold on. Don't give up on it yet.
When you give that counsel, we as the older generation, we always answer the who, what, where, when. But the most important is why.
Why
I'm giving instruction. This is why I'm telling you to do this, telling you not to do that. And once you explain the why portion,
yes,
I think the light comes on even better.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, sir.
And it goes back to what you said, Coach. It goes back to relationships. Even one of the questions that we were talking about is, well, how do we forgive? How do we get in the business of forgiving? One of the comments that came across was we need to restructure things in the church, and I couldn't agree with that more, because we've had this rigid pattern for so long, and we feel like, okay, well, that rigid pattern would last for 1,000 years. Well, it doesn't. Okay. And so because things change, people change, times change. Would we have ever thought, think about it, let's just be honest with ourselves. Would we have ever thought that there would come a time where we could not physically attend church? Like we miss church because we just didn't feel like going sometimes. But would we have ever thought that there would be a time when we could not physically attend church? I mean, we're slowly opening up. But what I'm saying is that was the furthest thing from our mind. Where our kids can't go to school because that was the furthest thing from our minds. But what two things failed when COVID hit? The mental health, the health system, and the education system, because we never thought it could happen. Same thing in our churches. We have this rigidness. Yes.
What I'll say to you, yes, because it's written in the Bible that this time would come. I probably thought it wouldn't happen in my lifetime, but I do.
Correct. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying we knew it was coming, but we thought it would be like the way end of time, things is burning up, blowing up, and all this other stuff. But I'm talking about. It is right. Technically it is. But I'm talking. But we never foresee it. Just like when Obama became president, we never thought. My mom never thought she'd be allowed to see that. It just happens. So the process is, though, We have to figure out when and where and how many baby steps. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to start figuring what relationships need to be formed in order for these young women, because pregnancy is happening at a way younger age. Toya, you said you got pregnant at 25. To us and our generation, we're like, that ain't young. You just,
Right.
it just happened before you got married. You're like, okay, that's young. But think about that girl that's, I know kids personally, coach. I deal with a lot of kids. I
Yeah.
mentor a lot of kids. I'm in the coach. Being in the coaching field, you get it. You meet young men that's, okay, I got a kid. You meet young women that, hey, I got a kid. And you can't judge them. You just got to be there for them to say it's going to get better, but I hope that you're ready for the struggle. And there's going to be some days. And see, see. I'm glad now that things are happening. This is another episode, Daughters Design, and maybe you guys have it already. But mental health, we'll talk about that later. Maybe part 3, part 4 when you bring me back. I don't know, but here's what I'm talking about. We have to talk about how now being persecuted in the church, how does it affect our young women and their mental health? Because guess what, Toya, if I'm bringing you down as a mother because I'm persecuting you for the sin, how do I not know that the things that I've said to you are now affecting you as a mother for your child? And because I'm so worried about the sin that you've done in this church, I am not worrying about now the thing that it can very much, now you're so depressed and you're so hated that you now start to regret, maybe I just should have never done this. And now this child whose fault it's not begins to feel that pressure. We don't talk about that. And so I think because we haven't restructured those things in our church for our young people to know, there's a source to say, hey, okay, I made a choice, not a mistake. You made a choice. I think we got to get away from you made a mistake. You made a choice, and now you have to live with it. And here's how to live with it. When we do that, then things will change.
Okay. We're
Been
gonna
good.
hold on for just a second. Brianna's hand's been up for a long time. Then we'll
Okay,
go to you,
so
Mike.
sorry. So for me, pregnancy is not a big deal for our generation. Like most people are pregnant and not married. Like that is not a thing. Like I feel like in other generations that was more of a thing. Like most people we look up to, like Kylie Jenner, tons of people have kids without marriage. That's not like uncommon anymore, and I don't think people look down on it as much as they did in the past. I think what is more common and a bigger issue is sexuality and gender dysmorphia. So
Girl,
I
you're going
think
to a
that's
whole
a
nother
bigger issue for our
episode.
church, more so than being pregnant and having a kid. Like I said, everybody's pregnant and has a kid these days. It is not a big deal. It is like before it was though. Like I was like, you would hear people say, "Oh, she's pregnant." Now it's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you!" Like it doesn't matter. Marriage is not like what it used to be. Like people aren't trying to get married. People are not like it's not the same.
And
So that's not the
doesn't
same
that,
issue.
but doesn't that speak to how the deterioration of our
Yes.
world is?
Yes.
Listen, this thing is wrapping up people. And we better be about God's business. God has not changed. Just because we are accepting, see, the devil, that's how he gets us. He wants us to start laying down and being so used to the sin. Just because
Because we
the
are.
sin becomes common does not mean it's not sin. We need to be really clear about where we're going and where we've been. God has not changed. He's the same today, tomorrow, and forever. And the devil is doing his job.
So
Because
that's the
when we
thing.
get so used to sin being okay and normal, that's when you better check yourself and realize that we better do a better job of letting our young people know as well as our old people, because our old people are just as guilty of being too sexual, over sexual, because if you look at the statistics say that the greatest number of people who have STDs and other issues are the elderly. So we better be really clear about what we're saying. This is not just something about the young people. This is something about the older people as well. And when we get too complacent, we better be careful.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's harder to get youth into the church because we're accepted out there. Like, we can be pregnant and have a kid. We can do whatever we want to do. And we also have the attitude of, like I said, if it's not for me, I'm not going to do it. So if I go somewhere and I'm expecting to find something and someone tells me, oh, you're pregnant without a kid, I'm like, wait, I don't have to be here. I don't have to deal with you. I can go out in the streets and I'm okay, like, being pregnant. And you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're missing
they're
those
going to accept you.
Exactly.
But we got to be careful of that pitfall, young folk and older folk, because things are wrapping up. We got wars. We got rumors of wars. This has been a great addition. I appreciate everybody on the panel, but I'm looking at the time. We're way past our time. And like he said, Junior said we won't have to have part 3 because it's so much. We can't hit it in just a short amount of time. So I extend the invitation to all of you to come back. Remember, at the ambassadors, we're here on the 2nd and 4th Sabbath. We had a special edition last week, and we have a program coming up. It'll be in person live at the Daughter of Zion Church in Delray Beach on October 30th. We're doing a survey. The survey link is there. Andre, can you roll it again for me, please? The survey link is there. Hopefully it'll be on the church website as well. Please take the survey. Let us know if you're going to be in the area. We don't care what denomination, we don't care what church. If you want to come, if you want to learn about your mental health, about depression, about coping during this time, Brother Ray Gray, who was here last week, you can check out our video from last week on Let's Get Real at DOZ SDA. What is it? That's it? That's it, Andre?
Yeah.
So you can check it out. But Ray Gray will be with us in person. He's going to do one-on-ones. He's going to do Sabbath school. He wants to do everything. So we're going to have him October 29th. He's coming in that Friday. We're going to have a program that Friday. Then we're going to have Saturday. He's going to do one-on-one personal. So let me know if you're going to be able to come, attend. We're doing the age groups. The ambassadors cover 16 through 30. But anybody who wants to come, let me know what you're doing. We'll be there. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you fill it out, get it back to us so we'll know that you're there. Hit us up.
One love.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be blessed. And see you for the next Let's Get Real.